YouTube, right, part 2 of coil splitting and pickup shenanigans. What I was talking about in the last video, which might have been yesterday, depends whether I put them all up on a winner or not. So we're using half the switch here. Yeah, we're only using one side. This side is not doing anything. And there I'm saying we can choose whether we're listening to the north coil or the south coil, depending on whether we put what it switches to the output of the pickup or to earth, right? What you can do is with the other pickup, so that let's say this is a bridge pickup, with the neck pickup, you put the split wire to here, and then you can choose there. You can either just join these together to get you both of them going to earth, but whether that's the option you want or not. But because I said in the last video you want them to be hum cancelling, whether you're listening to this pickup, this coil or this coil when you split it. Ideally you want them both to be opposite wind. I would suggest if you were going to just have a switch like that, I would make it so you're listening to this one if possible, and ideally this one. This might involve flipping the pickup physically round which doesn't actually matter with these pickups because they've got hex poles, but quite often on pickups you've got see these ones are adjustable and these ones aren't, so it looks funny if you've got them the wrong way round. It looks wrong, and someone like me will notice that you've got both pickups like that, which is not what you want. Normally you want the neck pickup like that and you want the bridge pickup like that. Basically that's all that is. So you would connect, say that this is the bridge, it's already connected up going to out, and then you put the split wire from the neck pickup here, and you could either choose to make this one go to out as well, or no, it would have to go to the output. You wouldn't join these two together for the output, you'd have to put that to the output of the neck pickup. Yeah, that was why I actually cancelled the last video I did. So that the output, the bridge pickup tap wire goes to out, which is where it connects to the switch, the pickup selector switch, or if it's a Les Paul or something like that, it would go to the input of the volume control. So that's where that wire goes to, the same place as where the pickup goes to, and it's the same with the neck. It would go to the output of wherever the neck pickup goes to, whether it's the volume control or the switch. That would give you the same coil on each of the two pickups. If you wanted to do it the other way, you could make this go to earth, which would give you the other coil on here. Yeah. So, or you can, that's basically that one there goes to earth. So you can make, you can choose which coil it is you listen to. So when you flip the switch, which in this case, unlike that guitar I just did there, where I had one of these switches, I was only using half of it for each of the pickups, which meant I could change the neck pickup to a single coil or a humbucker, or the bridge pickup to the single coil separately. If you put them both in the same switch, you call it a dual coil split switch, which would basically, when you hit the switch, they're both single coils or they're both humbuckers, which you may or may not want. But so there you still get the choice of whether you want the output to either go to the output of the pickup or you put them to earth. If you want to put them both to earth, which is probably the simplest way to do it, you can just stick the two S together, bang, and then because the earth's the earth, and that would give you a single, and then you put the split wire from the neck pickup on here, that would give you earth to earth. Easy peasy. What I have been doing, and this is all an answer to a guy who asked me about a mod I did to a Fender Mustang bass, or not Fender, a Squier Mustang bass, which had two humbuckers. I put a dual coil choice switch in. So dual because it does both the pickups at the same time, and coil choice because you can actually choose whether this is a DP-DT switch. So it's got the switch is either up or down on an on switch, right? There's a middle position, which I'm just drawing on now, and the middle position is this, where it doesn't connect any of the terminals together. Yeah. So what I was doing was I made it so that if you imagine putting these both together, but there's a middle position now instead of just being on or off. In the middle position, nothing's happening. You get two humbuckers. Whereas if you go to the down position, it connects one of the humbuckers to earth, and in my case, I've got and the other one goes to the output of the pickup. So you're splitting you're listening to the north coil of one and the south coil of the other. And then what I did in these top two lugs, I did them reversed. So this one goes to the output of the pickup, and this one goes to earth. So in this position, you're listening to the south coil of one and the north coil of the other, but the other way around. So you're either listening to, in that Mustang, you're either listening to these two, or the inside coils or the outside coils. Really, or it depends how you've done it. It could be they're both these coils or both these coils. You do in the last video I talked about whether you want them to be the opposites for each other, because one of the coils is wrapped the other way around. So in case of this guitar, this coil and this coil are both the same direction, and so are this coil and this coil. So this guitar is maybe the other way around from what you would normally expect. This one wasn't meant to be crossed, but I had to do it myself. So that's the coil choice switch. The reason I like that is because when you've got an on-off switch, it's either, your switch is only up or down, so you've got to remember which is which, and it's not that easy to tell whether it's on or off. That's why I like using the push-pull pots, because a push-pull pot, when it's in, I know on this guitar that this is in humbucker mode. You can tell just by looking at it, whereas now you go, oh, the neck pickup is a single coil and the bridge pickup's a single coil, nice and easy. Whereas if you've just got a switch, you're just looking at the switch and going, well, the switch is up. Does that mean on or off? Or if you do it sideways, it's not even less obvious. So I like that, because, and also this it's just hidden. You can't see, it's a wee secret. I've kind of kept this guitar very original. This guitar originally didn't have single coils, but because it's got the Telecaster plate on it, I really felt I wanted it to have Telecaster modes. I've not yet talked about how, I'm talking about this Duosonic again, right? So as I said in the last video, here's how a pickup works. You've got, I really just stop trying to losing that pencil. Right. When you've got as in the case of that Mustang, right, it only had two wires, so it had wires coming out it that looked like it was coming off the single coil. You had a shield and a hot, right? That's all that's coming out the humbuckers, which comes out a lot of humbuckers, not just cheap guitars, original ones as well. So basically what you've got is this and this are the two wires you've got. This one here is generally connected to the base, is soldered to the base plate as well. So you've just got your, this goes to earth, this side, and then this side goes to output your hot. Now the two coils are joined together in series, so there is a joining wire between the two, alright? And that is where you get the extra wire. I had to do this on that Mustang to get the extra wire to do the coil splitting things. So what you've got to do inside, you've got this one here, right? This pickup here, right? You can see there's see this tape, right? You peel off that tape all the way around, right, to get inside the pickup. If you actually look, you can see there. If I can get it to focus, you can see in there. You can see there's some extra wee bits of pokey bits of wire. What you've got in there is, this is a broken one. You've got the input, or what I'm calling the input, the start of the pickup, and at the end of the pickup, and then there's an earth wire. The start would normally be connected onto the earth, and then there's a wire that joins the two coils together. You've got to break into that coil, that wire. What you can either do is, which is what I normally do, you sit there with a Stanley blade and you try and chip off the plastic coating so you can get at the bare wire inside it, and then you solder a wire straight onto that, bang, and then you tape it up so it doesn't touch anything. That gives you your extra, your split wire. If you wanted to be more advanced, sometimes you get like the 4 or 5 wire pickups. You could just snip that and then extend both those wires together. That's what's happened if you look in this, which is quite normal colours. So in this one, right, it just says you've got black being the start wire, and see it's got a shielded wire as well. That's the earth that goes to the base plate, which is a handy thing to have if you're doing if you want to phase reverse it, which basically all you're doing on a phase, when you reverse phase a pickup, is you swap the input and the output round. So it's just basically doing exactly the same thing but backwards. The trouble with that, with reverse phasing on something like this, is, as I said earlier, the start wire is quite often soldered onto the base plate, right? Which means that if you reverse the phase, it means that the base plate is hot. So when you touch it, it'll buzz, the same as like if you touch, when you've got your guitar plugged into an amp, you touch thing, it buzzes like that. So if you want to It doesn't make any difference if it's fine if you're using a pickup that doesn't have a metal cover. The problem with the metal cover is that the metal cover is soldered onto the base plate, which means you've got to, if you've only got the two wires coming out your pickup and you want to try and phase reverse it, you've got to take the cover off, disconnect the earth wire from the base plate and put a new earth wire on the base plate so that you can swap the wires over without it becoming hot. Yeah, that sounds very confusing, but it's just what it is. So as I said, so on this one, also if you're trying to take the cover off, I should mention as well, there's held on with two blobs of solder. I don't know what kind of solder they use to actually connect. This is the same in all the pickups I've come across. It's not the same solder that you're using, the stuff that you can actually melt. This stuff doesn't melt. It's like I think you need to have like a doubly hot powered soldering iron. So it's an absolute pig to get the covers off. It's not an easy job. You need either a special soldering iron, like a super hot one, or you need to sit and Dremel away, try and chip off it and hacksaw it and chisel it to try and get that bastard off. Then you can stick it back on again easy enough with normal solder. So it's just really annoying trying to break into pickups with covers. When you don't have that, it's fine. So in this case, we've got, because the black one, I'm just taking this as for granted, because the black one is soldered onto this this earth wire, I'm assuming this is the start of the coil. The red and the white are joined together, right? And this happens a lot. So this wire here is the one that's joining the two coils together. So this is your tap wire. Although it is two wires, they're both connected together, so I'm just calling it a tap wire. And then the green is your output. The colours don't necessarily always... So it's quite often these colours, but there's sometimes the black is the input, sometimes the green is the input. And sometimes they don't have these colours, and sometimes it's like the green and the red that go together to make... So basically a lot of people use the same coloured shield things on the wire, but they don't connect it to the same things. So it's like you really have to know. There are sites, if you've got like a Seymour Duncan stuff, it's dead easy to find. You know, you just go to Seymour Duncan and then they will tell you what colours reply to what. Warman's got a thing as well. But if you've got a pickup like this, so I don't know, I have no idea what make this pickup is or where it came from. So I'm just guessing that this is what's on. But I'm probably quite right, because I can tell, because this one's already soldered to the black, it's probably the start. Because the red and white are soldered together, it's probably the junction between the two coils, and then because that's the one that's left over, it's probably the output. Yeah, so I was saying there about the phase, like, and having a problem with the phase and the way that the earth is stuck on this. If you're putting a humbucker into a guitar, like into a Strat that's got 3 single coils, and you've decided I'm going to leave the 2 single coils in, humbuckers are always backwards for some reason. You'll know this if you connect it up and you put it into position 2, so you're listening to, you know, the new humbucker and the middle pickup. If it's really thin sounding, it's because the humbucker is backwards. So in that case, what you'd want to do is you'd want to swap the earth, take it off the black and make the black the hot, put the earth to the green, put the earth, and then put them to earth. So basically, you're just reversing the phase of it to make it fit. That's I've just learnt that from putting humbuckers into Strats. Sometimes it's backwards. So if you're sitting there and it sounds great when you get the humbucker on its own, it sounds great on the other middle positions, but when you've got the humbucker and the middle coil on, it's really thin and crappy sounding. You've got to either swap over, you know, like swap over the output, the wires on the humbucker, or both the single coils to make it in phase. Yes. So I think I've sort of covered that element of it, maybe. Yeah. So it's a pig to try and break in and get into this wire. I was only using, to do the coil split thing I was talking about, or even the dual coil split, I was just, rather than taking the 2 wires, which in like that pickup would be red and white, extending both of them, I'm just adding 1 wire on, because the 2 wires on this are joined together anyway. The red and the white are joined together anyway. So, you know, if you imagine this is your red and white. So the signal's coming in here, going around this coil, coming out this coil, going into this coil, and then coming out. You're getting them both in series. If you did, the reason they put the 4 wires on, the extra the 2 wires here instead of 1, is if you want to do something fancier, which is putting them in parallel rather than in series, which for 14 minutes. I'll just leave it at that just now. Yeah, so basically that's me done the dual coil split, or the coil split option. It's quite an easy mod to do. I wouldn't worry about it, even if you. The thing which I did, the reason I was buying, I much prefer, see the square head on it. I think that's much cooler than the rounded head you get on. Yeah, it's lost. Normally the switches you buy normally have like a rounded head on it. I just don't think they look as cool. But you can't find the ones with the square tip on them with the 6 poles. So if you could use 2 of these to coil split, and you could have one for each pickup, or you could coil split both pickups using the 6 terminal one. It's really up to you whether you want all single coils or all humbuckers, or you'd like the idea of having a humbucker and a single coil, giving you 2 switches. And I said in this guitar here, I've used 2 switches just to get more combinations, so you can have 2 humbuckers, single coil and humbucker, single coil and humbucker, or 2 single coils. Which is it is quite nice having. Sometimes it is quite good. See when you've got a humbucker in the neck and a single coil in the bridge. It is you get the fatness of this pickup and then a super bitey bridge thing. It is pretty cool having the 2. But as I was saying with the Mustang, the actual cavity inside the Mustang's a very thin guitar, so there wasn't actually enough room to put this switch in. Originally what I was going to do was basically this exact thing. I was going to have the 2 volume controls, the volume control and the tone control were going to pop out, and it would just look normal. But the Mustang's too thin, so if you sit it in physically, the Mustang was like and there wasn't enough room for these, so that's why I put the coil choice switch in. And it's worth doing. It definitely made a huge difference to that guitar. Whether it was worthwhile putting the coil choice in, or whether it was better, whether it would just be as handy just to have it going one way, whichever way round. And you could always, depending on what guitar it is, you can't do this on a Strat, but on a guitar like this and like the Mustang, you could have, as I was showing you there, you get your 2 output choices. You can either have it going split to earth or split to the output. You could try it one way round if you're only using one switch and listen to it, and then take this out without having to take all the strings and shit off, swap the wires over and see whether it's better the other way around. You're better listening to the 2 insides of the 2 outsides, and just experiment that way. Yeah, fun, rock and roll. I'll do another video. I might do that one while I'm at it. Fuck it. I've done phase. I've not told you about why you don't want to be doing phase if you can avoid it. Rock and roll.